Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. We're all pretty familiar with that song. We grow up and it's a farmer named Old MacDonald. He has his cows, he has some chicks, he has maybe some sheep, and they're all happy and they're all living on this cute little farm. What they don't tell you is how wildly difficult farming actually is. There was this one time where my dad and I were trying desperately to grow fruit trees in our backyard. We were moving into a new home and we had plans to grow figs, apricots, and all that stuff. And I was so excited because I've never grown really anything before. And I started planning all of the food I was going to make from these fruits. I was going to make fig jam and apricot tarts and a summer salad with little pomegranate seeds in them. I had a whole plan. Little did I know that just because you plant something doesn't mean that you're going to be able to harvest anytime soon. Year 1 came, year 2 came, year 3 came, and I would go outside to look at these fruit trees and nada. And it was so disappointing because no one tells you how long it takes. You just see people with the fruit and the trees and you're like, I can do that. But that's not how it works. And I remember there were even seasons where in winter it would be 20 degrees and I would go outside and look at the fig tree, and it was all shriveled up and dry and crusty and naked. It didn't have any leaves. And I remember thinking, yo, it's 20 degrees outside. There's no way that this fig tree is still alive. Like, it's dead. Until summer came, and sure enough, the little leaves would sprout, but there was still no fruit. So it's very discouraging until one day I went to my childhood best friend Iman's house, and in her backyard, she has this fig tree for the gods. It's huge, it's massive. I've never seen anything like it. And it has the most sweet, plump, delicious figs you've ever seen before. And it's at that moment when I saw it and I was like, it is possible. Figs can grow here in this climate. And my fig tree is going to look like this one day. I'm going to have a ton of figs just like my best friend. And then I would go home and I started having the confidence to be patient because I was able to envision what the final product would look like. In addition to her big fig tree, they had a net around it to keep out the birds. Because sometimes when you're harvesting fruit, you have to protect it from the birds who are looking to take it. But all to say, the process of harvesting is no easy task. And it's definitely not as jolly as the old song, Old MacDonald Had a Farm, makes it sound. If I had difficulty planting a few fig fruit trees in my backyard, I couldn't imagine the patience and the amount of faith that it takes to harvest a whole entire crop. And why should we care anything about harvesting or fig trees or good seeds? Because this is kind of how life is. A lot of times we're given these things and we don't see how, okay, I have this entry-level job. I'm not making a ton of money. I'm in this city where there's maybe not a lot of opportunity. How am I going to make something out of this? But like a farmer, we have to trust and commit to the process. Just because the farmer doesn't see juicy plump figs in week or even year 1 or 2 doesn't mean that they give up. Every single day they go out there and without seeing any results, they water and they fertilize and they put in the work to harvest this crop because they have the faith that it's going to happen. Even in winter seasons, even in those seasons of your life where you feel like it's going well, you are doing good, and then all of a sudden it's dead. It's dry, and you're looking at these branches and you're like, how can anything grow from this? I'm going through a divorce. I'm going through a breakup. I'm going through a loss of a loved one, a family member. I'm emotionally traumatized. I'm emotionally hurt. And I feel dead. I feel like my spirit is dead and it's just a bunch of empty branches with no fruit or life. But just because you're going through a season of winter where it feels like it's below 20 degrees outside doesn't mean that there's still no life left in that plant, that those roots are not building so that they can brace themselves for the summer that's coming. Even in the winter season, even through seasons of drought, you have to keep farming and commit to the process. And it's not easy, but it's possible. We have to start small, start with this little sprout that we have and be faithful over it in order for God to bring the increase. Because without our gratitude for this little itty bitty sprout, maybe it's one little fig that comes up in 1 year and it's all little tiny and small and green and it's not even edible. We have to be faithful over that and keep watering and keep taking care of it in order for God to give us the increase, in order for more abundance to come into our life. Secondly, and this is a tough one, but an important one, is timing. One of the biggest mistakes that a farmer can make is if they harvest their crop too early. Rushing into something good can ruin something good. If a farmer harvests their crop before it's ready, it can lower a smaller yield of the harvest, and it can also lead to less potency of the fruit. If you get too excited because you see 1 or 2 or 3, 4 figs, but they're all tiny and green and not really edible, and you chop down the tree, that's it. You're done because you were getting too excited. It's the same in your life. Maybe there's a relationship that you've been wanting to pursue, get to know somebody. It's tough because we hear, especially with our current culture, that you got to act on it fast, that you can't wait, someone else is going to snatch them up. And it's hard because you don't want to harvest too early, but you also don't want to harvest too late. But the beautiful thing about being an experienced farmer is that you have that wisdom to recognize when the right time is to harvest. The same in your life. If you are in a position at your job and you are like, it is time for a raise, but maybe you go in, the boss is in a bad mood, the company's going through something, and it's a troubling time, we need to have that wisdom to recognize, you know what, now is not the right season for me to ask for this raise. But maybe a month later, when it's going well, our boss is in a better mood, the company's in a more stable position, and we just maybe finished a project that was super successful and we know that we did a really good job in. Now is the time to strike. We have to have that wisdom like a farmer on when is the right time to harvest, because rushing into something can ruin something. The same as in relationships. Sometimes if you rush into a relationship, you don't really get to know that person, and you can actually either repel them, push them away, or you can hurt yourself because you didn't do the due diligence to really get to know this person. The third point is the process. In the words of one of my pastors, a farmer who waits for good weather will never harvest. We can't wait for our life to be completely 100% perfect in order to pursue our goals. Sometimes you're going to be at a job that you don't like. You may have to be a barista right now or an Uber driver right now because it gives you more flexibility to go to school and take care of your kids and do all of the other responsibilities that you have. Where you're at right now might not be glamorous, but we have to decide that, God, I am going to do the best that I can with what I have, with where I'm at today. And God will bless that, because that is all that we can do. If we wait, I'm only like plant this fig tree when it's like perfect weather, when there's no freezes, when there's no droughts, when the birds are singing, you're never going to plant. And as a result, you're never going to get that harvest. There's going to be ugly seasons in your life. There's going to be seasons of singleness. There's going to be seasons of tragedy. There's going to be seasons of death. There's going to be seasons of rejection. But wherever you're at right now, whether you're a janitor, whether you're a barista, whether you're a CEO, whether you're going through a divorce, whether you're stressed at work, wherever you're at, we need to make the best out of it. Because if we wait for the perfect circumstances to pursue our dream or to have a good attitude, we're never going to reap the harvest. We have to make the best of every situation that we're in, because the process for anything, just like farming, is not going to be perfect. It's not glamorous, but we need to go through that in order to have our harvest. And the last point is what I learned from my best friend's fig tree, is that sometimes when you have put in this time and effort to develop something so beautiful and abundant and luscious, you have to protect it from the birds. In my career, I'm in charge of selling homes. And sometimes, because they're higher end homes, the price point is higher. And the median sale, it's way above the average or the median sales price here in my local market, which is El Paso, Texas. And it's not easy all the time. A lot of people see, oh, look at these $1 million listings, and oh my gosh, like look how beautiful it is. But those homes are not easy to sell. Just like anything, you might go through seasons where you're not getting any buyers, you're not getting any calls, you're not getting any interest, because this product is above the average for the area. You and your work and your effort might be above average for your level of work. But that doesn't mean you don't take that opportunity and you don't pursue it. And when you do, there's going to be people who will say that what you're doing is whack, what you're doing is not worth it, what you're doing is not going to be fruitful. And they will attack your fruit like birds attack my friend's fig tree. When I'm selling these homes and when the market isn't too great, it can get discouraging not having any calls or buyers interested in it. And what's the first thing people do? People will say, oh yeah, it's way too expensive. You shouldn't be selling homes like this at that price. They're not able to take it, and they go and they sell another home that's more easier to sell, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't mean that you give up your dream and you give up your assignment because of the opinions of other people. Because sure enough, every single time a buyer comes along who recognizes the value in that product and they put it under contract, they take a chance on it, they recognize it, and you get to reap your harvest. So even if you have a dream, even if you have a goal and you're not seeing any results, that doesn't mean that you should stop, because there will be birds who come along who say that what you're doing is a waste of time. It's not going to be worth it because look, it's still on the market. You still haven't created your business. You still haven't found your husband. You still haven't gotten that dream job. You're still at the same place, because it just takes that one opportunity to come along that sees the value in you, and that gives you the harvest, that gives you the increase, that gives you the abundance. But you have to stay faithful over the process, because there's going to be seasons of drought, of a slow market, of doubters, of birds who try to come for you and your goals, but you have to stay faithful to the process. In conclusion, farming, just like life, and achieving our goals is not easy. There's going to be dry seasons. There's going to be weeds that come out that we have to take out to maintain our good seed. And more than anything, it's going to take patience and faith that our goal is going to get there. But just like a farmer, If every day we show up, we don't have to do anything crazy. We don't have to find some sort of scientific way to develop this plant. We just have to go out every single day with the little seed that we have and water it and harvest it and have faith and patience that it's going to turn into an abundant crop one day. But it takes that work, dedication, patience, and faith. And lastly, and in the great words of the last Kobe Bryant, he said, "Success has nothing to do with how smart you are. It's all in the math." If you show up early every day with a good attitude, leave late, and do everything with a standard of excellence, you don't gotta have a high IQ. You don't gotta have a doctorate or a master's. You don't have to be smarter than the next guy. It's all in the math. The equation of life is the more that you put in, the more that you care and tend for the little that you have, the more abundance life will bring you, and the more crops that you will have to harvest once you get to your goal. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.